good, y'all? Welcome into the TraKCouts podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about music and life with the people living it. I'm your host, Code Red. With me, as always, my co-host, Scorpio. What's poppin', bro?
What's the word with it? We got one today?
We just might. Every Wednesday we drop and we talking to artists, engineers, producers, all of the above. If they live in this music shit, we want to talk to them. Make sure you subscribe so you know when we drop. But Scorpio said it. We do got a good one today. One of Casey's dopest producers, engineers. You can catch him out in Lee Summit, locked in with hella artists at his studio Tackle Box. His latest project, Solar Panels on the Trap House with Kush Llama, is out everywhere. Please welcome to the pod, Greg Griffin, a.k.a. Stone's neighbor. What's good, bro?
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate you having me. Dope introduction, definitely. You guys got a dope space here, too. I really appreciate it.
You know we got to fire you up with the intro, bro.
Yeah, no.
Gas you up. First thing I want to know, who's Stone and is he your neighbor?
So producer, engineer, just regular guy. Yeah, I try to make as many beats as possible, lock in with artists that I just, you know what I mean? I feel like them and me have a similar sound, kind of like Kush Llama, you know?
Yeah.
And just try and keep it moving the best I can for real.
Let's talk about the new project with Kush Llama because I thought it was fire. I mean, I came over to your studio a few months back and we were talking about it. You were like, yo, this is kind of a switch up on sound for me, but like we're going with it. It was hard. The last two projects have been hard with Kush Llama.
Yeah, appreciate it.
The Big Mouth Bass and this one.
Yeah.
And they're both kind of like a similar sound. Mm-hmm. So like, what was the approach for this project? If you were like, I want to go with a different sound. So like, what was the approach with Kush Llama?
Sure. So Kush and I'll just kind of go back to when we met and how we met and everything. And because him and me really have built like a great relationship that I value a lot. And he's just kind of become a good friend, like over a quick, you know what I mean, maybe 2 years or so. But Wax had actually had a session and he was like telling me, he kept bringing up Kush Llama, and I wasn't super familiar. He formerly used to be Baby Kev back in the day, and he has like a bunch of music with local artists and different people around the city. And he came and him and me just got a chance to talk a little bit, and I was mentioning like artists like West Side Gun and Currency and Harry Fraud and Alchemist and stuff. And he was like familiar with everybody, which especially with like, sometimes I think he's maybe a little bit older than me, but that's like kind of a niche market that not a lot of people around here listen to.
Yeah.
And we started hitting it off like that. And he was hearing some beats and stuff. And then he was like, just kind of down to hear whatever beats I was putting on the table or sending to him or anything. And from there, we just started to hit it off, and like any idea I throw out to him, at first we started off kind of like the similar stuff that I've done with like Riley and J-Ro with like Sports Center and things like that.
Love that song, bro. That song's a classic.
No, I appreciate it. And I was like, maybe this is more up his alley. Like, let me send him that. And then as we continued to work, we just made it like weirder and weirder. You know what I mean? Like those, I remember whenever I was showing you like the one with Wax on there. And our whole thing was like, we're going to get him out of his box to get him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On like some mellow, no drums, like just that same sample loop, whatever. And he's just been dope to work with because literally most ideas we come up with, he's on the same page completely. And then I love working with him too because it's like no BS, like whatever. He has a whole dope lab set up at his house too. Actually, this last one, he mixed and mastered everything. And I just sent the beats through and whatever, because they was kind of on a whim. I actually made all the beats for that during that snow day.
You cooked a whole project in one day.
Damn near, because there was nothing else to do. Nobody was coming. This was like January 11th or whatever when it was like Snowmageddon.
Oh,
you know
dude.
what I mean?
Yeah, I was up here like throwing my back out, shoveling like 2 spots, hoping people would still slide.
Yeah,
dude.
no,
Like
exactly
2 feet
right.
of snow.
Yeah, you got the salt out there.
Yeah.
So it was like I wasn't even. I just. You know what I mean? Called it and I was like, I'm just going to try and make beats,
down,
you know
cook
what I mean?
up.
But, so yeah, I did that, at least most of them. And I think maybe we added a couple others after that. And I did it all on, what's it called? My MPC machine. Mm-hmm. And I did most of the project on there. So you can, as you listen back, I'm sure you guys were able to tell, but it's like really like those natural chops and stuff. And
I love that stuff.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. But that's how that came together.
Do you produce like mostly like on machine, or do you use like FL Studio stuff like that too?
Most of the time I do FL just because I'm so much more like seasoned with that. I started using FL probably in like, I was like 24, 25, maybe even a little bit younger. So damn near 10 years ago. And I'm just more comfortable with it. But with machine, that's whenever I feel like I'm being like way more creative, you know, like I'm like, it's kind of challenging me, and like I'm not as used to like mapping it on there. Like half the time still I'll do like an 8-bar loop on machine and then put it into FL and tweak with it a little bit more. But yeah, so it's kind of like I'll just use both for real, but I'm trying to get more and more into that machine sound.
For sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
So cooking up on desktop versus the machine is a completely different like vibe.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's quicker, and like it kind of, one thing I will say about that, I do feel like on FL I'm kind of in like a box where I'm like, okay, I'm going to find a sample. I used to do like all MIDI, and I had like Omnisphere. I still do, but and like Purity and different VSTs and stuff that I use. But I found myself with FL, I find myself doing the same thing, you know, like most I'm doing is like changing the BPM or doing like a West Coast vibe or like Detroit or something like that. But that's why I like to switch to machine. I'm like, let me like get out of my box a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
I'm definitely boxed in with FL. Like I have the same presets that I put on my 808s, and like I tend to always go back to like the Spins 808, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, I'll do like the synth bass for an 8-bar. And so, but the nice thing about like engineering and like Pro Tools is that kind of allows me to like even more, especially if I get the chance to work with the artist I'm sending the beat to, or I have the beat in mind for, like I can tweak with the beat even more then and make it more like, you know what I mean, different transitions and stuff. Like I'm more comfortable doing it that way, but I need to dive a little deeper in the FL world, you know. But yeah, because I'm sure
you kind of keep it like surface level. What's been working for you, you just keep kind of rocking that.
Yeah, definitely. And then like I think a lot of it goes back to like the people I like to listen to. I'm like, let me not mess with it too much. Let me let it just like let the artist kind of like, because I've heard like Alchemist say this too. Like I don't think of myself as like a drum guy or a producer. It's like I'm more just like a sound. You know what I'm like? I know how I want it. Like it's like a visionary type thing. Like I'm like, I found this fire sample. Let me just try and not fuck it up too much, you know. But yeah. And then I have like my kits and stuff that I like to use, and occasionally I'll still do chords and like actually play out the stuff. Like Sports Center that was no samples or anything
Hard
on there. No, appreciate it. But like even on that, you notice I just did like 2 chords, and then it's, you know. So a big thing is like just allowing I think I heard like 40 and Drake say this too. Producer was sending them beats, and they were like, no, like this is enough. Like this is all we need. And they're like, you sure? Like I can.
Yeah, like they'll be taking shit off of their beat.
Exactly. Yeah. And kind of like just leaving it as a landscape for the artist more so. But I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because I still want to be able to tweak with it. You know what I mean?
I feel
a certain
you.
amount, but.
So like, are you like, you and Kush Llama specifically, or other artists you work with, are you guys like stockpiling songs and beats, and then just like when you got enough you're dropping, or are you like, yo, we're working on this project, this is the vibe, let me lean into it?
Yeah. So a lot of times, this is another dope thing about him. Like even when he's not working with me, he's stockpiling projects. But from my experience working with him, and he does like dope compilations. He just came out with one called like Picante and Chalupa, where he has a bunch of people that are dope and that he fucks with around the city, and I think elsewhere too, that are on it. But from my experience, it's been like, say we make 10 beats, he'll do 8 of them, we'll use 6 of them, then maybe 2 will go on one of his projects, you know, like, and we'll kind of like divvy it up that way. But for the most part, and this is another dope thing about him, it's just like go mode. Like there's definitely beats I'll send him that he's not feeling or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, it's like I'll just get the song back. Or he'll be like, I'm gonna pull up and we'll just knock it out. And then he's like lethal with that's another cool thing. Like not to disregard young guys, because there's a lot of young people who do this very dope. But with that a little bit older generation, they're like, they aren't really punching shit.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe like one in between where it's just, oh, we can get that take cleaner. But it's like he's running through the song. And it's like, you know, like, and very lethal with like his delivery, and like it's just a dope. I can't say enough good things about working with that dude. Like, and that's really has been what's been fun to work. You know what I mean? To make it fun working with him. Skipping over my words.
You're good. That's dope though. I mean, it is true. Like the older generation really like writes and it comes locked in. The younger generation really comes in and is like wants to punch in every line, freestyle vibe.
Oh, dude, 1,000%. And like, there's I always kind of like blame Young Thug and Future, which I love. Young Thug and Future,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. But like, we'll hear them say, like they freestyle, and I'm like, it's just a different thing with them. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and there's even been like, I'll tell some of the younger dudes, like say there's a session and they're like, no, but you wrote that, and I'm like, that's what you like. There's nothing wrong with writing it, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You get to fine tune it, and like a lot of the artists, I'm sure you feel you get the same thing. Like a lot of the artists who have the most success are like the most prepared for whatever they're going to do in the studio, you know? And it's like that translates into sound, and they have their beats picked out and they create like a project tape feel where it's like a movie, you know what I mean? We talked about that too, I think off camera, but like, it's like you're making a score. Like this tape is a score for this type of vibe and sound. And like, I don't know, that's what I value in music a lot, you know?
Yeah. And so like, let's talk about like that soundtrack kind of movie kind of vibe you're talking about, because you went with a different sound on these last couple projects with Kush Llama. And I feel like your drums and your perks were like part of your sound. Like, like you could tell it was your beats like based off the drums and shit.
No,
So like you were like, fuck it, no drums. You know what I mean? So it's like a whole new sound for you guys.
Yeah.
Like, but you had described what you were saying as like a movie kind of vibe. Like I was at your studio and you're like, bro, I'm chasing like Goonies vibes. Is what you said.
Up.
And that hit me, and it made so much sense, because I'm like, yeah, that's dope. It's like an eerie quality to the music, but it's still like so funky and groovy. You know what I mean? So is that like what you meant by that, or like what?
Definitely. So like with those projects specifically, I think that goes to show how like even like I felt like they had and it's funny because with that project, it absolutely was Goonies vibes, and Kush wasn't familiar with the movie. I was like, send him the trailer, and you know what I mean? And I was like, I'm thinking like Oregon, lake, or not lake, ocean, the rocks, and you know, like that, just a soundtrack sort of deal for it. And I think that goes back to show how like how important or how unique somebody's ear can be, a producer's ear, where even regardless of the sounds they use, like I'll hear beats of yours in the studio and I know you made it even without hearing the you know what I mean? Or yours, like people are so unique that we can use the same sounds or pick the same type of samples or pull from the same thing, and it's like how you tweaked it, it still is you.
Right, because I grabbed that Spins 808 1,000 times.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's the GOAT.
It's the one.
But yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. I think that goes like the ear is still the same at the end of the day.
Yeah, and like when you said that, like you were like, it's like a Goonies like vibe. I'm like, does that like kind of feeling you extend that to like all the music you make? Because when you said that, I reflected on like all your music, and I was like, I can kind of feel that like throughout.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think probably, and I hadn't thought about it that way, but subconsciously, like that probably is like a big influence, those 90s, because I'm born in 94.
Yeah.
And like got a lot of, like I just watched Jaws last night, and I know that's not a 90s movie, but like that sort of like vintage era, like very John Williams music heavy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of stuff always reverts back to like that video game / you know, so probably that's kind of what makes me want to do projects. And like with this latest one, I don't even know where I was to get like the inspiration for it, but it was like, I think maybe I was sitting on a couple of songs. I was like, let's just do another summer type vibe, you know, like samples that maybe like some 80s R&B, and then like different stuff that just gives you that like beach feel, you know? But most of it, I think comes from like that Goonies, 90s film, you know? That's really like meshing the two kind of.
Yeah, I feel that. And I kind of love that vibe too. Like it puts you like in a nostalgic place, but you can modernize it like with the production.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny to see like new age people get a kick out of that too, you know what I mean? And seeing stuff get like recycled, like not in a bad way or anything, but I know we see that a lot, like with like the Von Off 1700. Like it's crazy to see like the stuff I was in middle school, and now that's already being sampled.
Right.
And they're like it's like a Missy Elliott beat, and I'm like, that's such and such, or like Yin Yang Twins, that big song they have.
Yeah.
Like people have been doing that a ton.
Yeah.
And they don't know like what the original song was.
Right,
They
crazy.
just think it's like a Von Off 1700. I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
that came out like not that long ago,
Yeah,
you know.
facts.
But yeah, it's insane to see for sure.
I mean, I think we're just like now noticing that kind of like flips now, like, oh man, that just came out. But if you think like in the 90s, they were also flipping songs that were only 20 years
Right,
old.
exactly. Yeah. Which it just seems really old to us, but I don't know. Something about that era, it's like, I just think the sound, I don't know.
Yeah.
More timeless,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel
But
you.
definitely not a dag to like the new artists, but just that. I mean, even like talking about the gear you guys have, like that analog, it's like that can't ever be, and all the stuff back then for real was probably being done on analog.
For sure.
So it's
Sure,
like,
yeah.
just, and then that kind of goes back to film too. Like, I don't know all the film technology, but it's like Quentin Tarantino's obsessed with shooting stuff on a certain,
Film
still
type
film
shit,
and
yeah.
not digital.
Yeah.
And Martin Scorsese had just done Wolf of Wall Street on it. And it's like, it's something you can't replicate. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
We were talking to, we had MKV in here last week. I don't know if you know
Yeah,
MKV.
of course.
And we were kind of talking about that. Like, we kind of chase an analog sound in the studio, you know, like we're trying to make our shit sound like that. And
Yeah.
just in video too, he was like, yeah, people are trying to make their shit look like it's old too. You know what I
Really?
mean? Like,
Yeah. And he does a great job with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
does
fire.
I need to watch that interview because I've been really curious about him, and I know he's like booked up like hell too. Like
He stays
does
busy
it
for
all.
sure.
All the time.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
one of the dopest video guys in Kansas City, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I love working with him too. He's an awesome dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's done great work on your stuff for sure.
So what prompted the switch up though? What made you go like, we want to go in a different direction? You were just listening to that kind of shit?
Probably. Honestly, a lot of it, the inspiration came from Rock Marciano.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like, I'm obsessed with him, and I had just found out, really like dove deep after I heard him on like West Side Gun and Conway's stuff, and just like the production and whatever. And then I think also it came from like again, like going back to, I felt like I was doing the same thing a lot, you know, and I was like, I don't want it to be redundant. Like, let's just try and get like, I'm going to try and find the most fire samples that I can, which this is probably like what I would have done differently about a lot of that stuff is actually find the records to pull from the actual
Like straight
vinyl.
from vinyl?
Yeah.
That'd have been hard, bro.
And it would have made it sound way better, but all those are just pulled from YouTube.
Yeah.
Like most of them are. Some
I
of-
mean, I sample from YouTube and Spotify almost every day.
really?
Yeah.
You might have to show me how to do it from Spotify.
Hey, bro. just Google Spotify to MP3. You find something, I swear.
Just like that.
But I mean, like, that's a modern day way of digging. And I'm sure you dig like that too.
Yeah.
I'll sit on Spotify or YouTube for like 2 hours sometimes and just like add to playlist stuff I'm going to go back to later.
Oh yeah, definitely. I have like my like YouTube pages where, like, same with if I'm helping an artist look for beats in the studio, like looking for low views, low subscribers. I'll Google it and make sure. Like, my big thing is like, there's nothing worse than like, hopefully this doesn't piss somebody off, but whenever I'm making a beat and somebody comes in and they're just like, do Mariah Carey this big multi, you know what I mean? And they're like almost want me to just recreate this same beat. I'm like, that's already a great song. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's why
done
you
already.
like it. Yeah. Like you just really want it. You just like that song for real. But like, I'm always telling people like, bear with me, and I'm going to go find some like freaking German band that prog rock that nobody's ever heard and find this,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, 8-second loop out of it. Like,
Yeah.
that, I think that's like what the Wax and Kush song on there, the Knee Ups one, that's like where that was from. And that
Yeah.
made me started, I wanted to do a lot more like prog rock flips and different things. And then I think that's what makes it cool, you know.
That's dope.
But yeah, as far as like switching it up, is I just didn't want it to be redundant and like continue to do the same sound.
Right.
And yeah, that's really like, that sound is really that's like the most me.
Yeah.
Anything-
And it's like it's where you are right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
Right.
feel you.
1,000%. Like,
Yeah.
if I could, like, we always talk about like, we just need to get into that realm because
Yeah.
you see so many of those artists too, like in that underground seeing like we put Crime Apple on there, and that guy kills it. Like he has a cult following fan base. You know what I mean? Like he does some stuff with like some bigger artists, and I think that gets eyes on him, and that's like how people like myself would have found out about him. But then you go into their world, and it's like they aren't, you know what I mean? Like we hear this conversation about streaming and if it's good or bad for the industry or whatever, and these dudes don't even really have to worry about that. They just have like 1,000 people that buy their project 4 times a year. You know what I mean? And it's like Rock Marciano drops his projects for $30 or $40 or something on his page, on his like landing page, for 2 weeks before it actually comes out on streaming. And he's like, I make it, you know what I mean? More than enough.
Like direct to consumer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I'm just fascinated with that world. And with him and me, that's kind of like, we get a lot of ideas from stuff like that. So
a lot of those guys are really laying out the blueprint of how to be an independent artist. If you have like, not the biggest following, but if you have a dedicated following.
Of course. Yeah. And you don't like, I mean, I think there's like a ton of big music fans in any genre that appreciate more like the raw and not like selling out, which is like kind of, you know what I mean? It can go both ways. I think every way is situational because it's like whatever an artist ends up wanting, and they got to do what's best for them at the end of the day. But like people who stay true to that sound and they continue to, I relate it back to like restaurants all the time. You know what I mean? Like it's like, we know to go to Gates because we love Gates. Like if Gates started selling spaghetti, it'd be like, you know, just because it's popular at the time, it'd be like, it'd kill the whole vibe. You know what I mean? Like you kind of like to go back to what you know and love. And like, that's how I am with the artists I listen to. I'm like, I know they're going to have something for me on this one, you know?
And I feel like their new way of doing stuff, it's not new, but it's like, it seems new in 2025. Like you're saying, direct to consumer sales only, like, merch packages that, you know, you can only get on their website, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a new way of doing things. Like it looks like to us because of where we're at in music, but like they've been doing it, and it's like they've kind of pushed themselves to the mainstream. Alchemist has always been big with all the hip hop purists for a long time.
Yeah.
But now I feel like more than ever, he's like in the mainstream.
Oh, dude, 1,000%. And like he's doing those kind of numbers just direct to consumer in the mainstream. You know, like I think he was up for like best producer with like Metro Boomin, and you know what I mean? So to have that kind of influence, still that raw, gritty underground sticking to his sound deal, but it's, I mean, even 2 Chainz is tapping in now, you know what I mean? Like that's really
and that puts
awesome
a whole new set of eyes on him and his music and like how he does things.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you guys think about like do you think streaming is the future for music, or do you think this is like do you think it'll go back?
I think it's going back.
Yeah.
I think it's actively going back because you got people like, I always use him as an example, La Russell.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like he's showing people that you have to be your own platform.
Right.
Like, you have to be, you find your community. They're going to be the ones that's paying you for your project. Because if you have 1,000, let's say you have 1,000 fans, and each of them buy your project for like $20, something.
Right.
That's 20 bands, and it's take 1 million streams only gives you fucking 5,000.
Exactly.
And then you still got to take taxes and whatever fees out of that. You only getting about 3 bands, maybe less.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I feel like the streaming age is like people seeing that it's not really what it was cracked up to be. It sounded good at one point, and it was for a while, but now it's just dying down.
Right.
And now we got to get back to the grit. You know what I mean?
That's probably the best way I've heard it put, for real. And yeah, you're right. La Russell does do a really good job with that same thing.
I think if you have an established fan base, you know, like a La Russell or something, I wasn't hip to La Russell till he was already like popping kind of, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think if you have like a dedicated fan base, you can take that route and be like, I'm rocking with me and my fans, and we're gonna just do our thing out here. We don't need to be on the internet and shit like that. But I feel like for artists that, I say this all the time, that are in discovery mode, like they're trying to get discovered by listeners. Yeah, you kind of have to be on streaming still. I don't see another way that you can. It doesn't benefit yourself to gatekeep the music if you don't have that fan base already.
Yeah,
for sure.
So still like offering both.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like Juby in town would be a good person to ask this question to, because Juby this year dropped his project not on streaming. He dropped it on Even.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and you could only buy it. So
interesting.
I'd be interested to ask him, like, you know, was that worth it? Would you do that again? Like, is that all you want to do from now on? Because it was like, let's say you drop your project on streaming and you get those million streams, you walk away with your $3,000 at the end of the day. If I have direct to consumer sales and my project's $10, I only got to sell 300 copies.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
if I can push 300 copies, it seems like a lot, but it's not at all.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
If you can push 300 copies, you made that same amount of money.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm like, something about it feels like eventually it's gonna, I don't know, man. I feel like blogs are gonna come back, and like I just think something that even like in Kansas City, something that we really need that would be dope. And like there's some people who are doing the blogging stuff really good, like the One Entities of the world, or but having like one database where it's like Kansas City, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Music, and where it's of course like not gatekeepy or anything, but it's like, hey, like if you like this style of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a void there that hopefully a lot of the stuff that was big in like 08 or 2010 will, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm probably biased because that's like my high school years, but
same.
like, you know, but no, we had asked, that's interesting. I need to go tap in with the Juby project, but we asked like FA, I forget if it was FA or Young Fate. Maybe it was both of them, but we asked them if like, because they came directly from like the Seventh Heaven, selling the mixtapes out of the trunk, backpack, you know what I mean? Like, in like 07 and 08 and maybe probably even before. And they were like, both of them were like, oh, that was way better. You know what I mean? Because you knew you could go make, everybody wanted this CD. And then there's also still that like, if you want it, you have to bump into the person directly. And like, just imagine that if us three, if the only way that Kai's new project and he walked in and he's got them in the backpack, it's like, we're all probably going to buy one. You know what I mean? It's like, kind of sucks that we got away from that Wild West version of it, you know, but.
And I mean, like when you're on foot with it, selling tapes out the trunk and shit, like that's another level of hustle that isn't required today.
Yeah.
So like part of the market being so flooded now is that you don't have to talk to a single person to go record yourself in BandLab and then post it on Instagram and Spotify and shit. Like, there doesn't have to be a single human interaction that takes place now. Back then, like you're saying, it's all about networking.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting way to put it. And like, that's probably why it translated into the studio too. They're like, I got to redo this verse and it can't sound lazy because like I'm about to go present this to people. Whereas now it's like, we'll just take this picture and upload it to, you know what I mean? And then we're going to do it 20,000 more times, which again, double-edged sword type thing. But
and I mean, there's this aspect of it too, where, you know, shitty music now can still catch a viral moment.
Yeah.
And then, you know, somebody will be willing to, you know, invest or take a moment on somebody that is capable of creating a viral moment.
Of course.
Back then, people was taking a chance off you based off your talent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
definitely.
Now it's like the attention. Like if you could get some attention.
It's all about attention.
You good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was also talking to Rail from Red Media yesterday, speaking about like there's no mystery of being an artist no more.
Yeah.
It's like you all out there. Like you just all out on the internet. I seen Michael B. Jordan say that Denzel Washington told him like, don't be posting on Instagram.
Yeah.
If your movie finna drop this weekend, that's when they supposed to see you.
Right.
Like why you gonna be on the internet all week?
Yeah.
They done not seen you already. And I feel like we'd be missing that in artists. Like we see so much of their everyday life, what they're doing.
Absolutely.
That the value of actually seeing the moment isn't there no more.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And that's funny you bring that up because like I've thought about that with actors, how they like a lot of the big ones don't have, like I don't think Leo has like an Instagram. Maybe he does where he posts like some of the more like political stuff, but like a lot of them don't have like active, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It always surprised me seeing Hugh Jackman like post kind of as Wolverine as himself on Twitter. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, but it is rare for sure. I heard Fat Man Key say that too on like his No Jumper interview years ago, where he said the same thing, where he was like, when we were growing up, when you hear like Ludacris, I don't know if you use him as an example, but it's like you imagine him strictly backstage with a posse and you just thought, you know what I mean? Like he was in and out of the concert, and now it's like, yeah, you do get a lot more of the artist online and you feel like you already know them. So why, you know what I mean? Why it's all there for you already to see. But
I feel like that has to do. It goes back to what I was saying, where like an artist in discovery mode doesn't have the luxury of taking their shit off streaming. I feel like it's the same way. Like there's so much fucking music coming out every day now that if you're not on their fucking phone when they open it up, dude, you're gonna get washed over. Like especially if you're a smaller artist. So you have to like be on the screen every day, unfortunately, to like look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. You know what I'm saying? So
for sure. That's also like just kind of reinforces the reason of like be as yourself and unique as you can, because that's the only way. Like I know everybody's not us or as like nerded out in music as we are, but it's like that's what keeps that project in rotation. I'm like, I'm not going to go listen to this artist if they just rapped over the same thing that like a big popular artist is listening to, you know? Like I'll even see like dope artists that come through the studio and like it's like so like I know it's like kind of not my place where they can do whatever they want, but I'm like it's disappointing to me when I'm like, damn, you're doing the same beat that like, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, I know you got something better,
100%,
you know?
bro.
Like but I don't know, it's kind of just a live and learn, and again everybody's journey is kind of different with all this shit or any aspect, you know? But yeah, it's interesting.
Like, do you guys feel like it's an uphill battle in the studio trying to convince artists to like do something you've never done before?
What you mean by that?
Whatever.
I feel like I always try my best to try to let somebody do what they want to do, but at the same, like I just had a session the other day. Artist was in the studio. They wanted to do a remix of this one song, and they like asked my actual opinion. I'm like, it's cool, but
Yeah.
somebody did it already. Like let's make a new vibe. Let's build off of your sound that you got right now, and take that somewhere.
Yeah, 1,000%. No, yeah. I think similar thing. Like it's like whatever they want to do at the end of the day. But I've got, especially if it's an artist like that you've built with over time or years or whatever, you can kind of give them a look like, come on, man, like you know what I mean? Like let's. I know you got something different. Let's find one of these beats. And what's funny is it always turns out dope if you are able to get it off of the now sound and do something. You know what I mean? Of course, like still a certain type beat that's popping, but something with a different, I don't know. But
I mean, and it's dependent on your role too. You know what I mean? Like if you in there just as the engineer, you know, maybe it's not your place to be trying to push an artist creatively.
Yeah.
But if it is somebody that wants your creative input, you know, then you can, you know, say something or stand up for, you know, an idea or a sound that you think is like a direction you guys should be heading.
Oh,
you know
for sure. Like for example, with this new project I'm working on, I'm not even gonna lie, I have to literally tell the artists, I'm like, you aren't gonna like the beat, but just do it, and I promise it's gonna turn out fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's like the conversation I have with all these dudes all the time. And I'm like, hey, just so you know, it's a certain sound, but then once they lay it down, they start to see it. Like even one of the sessions I had like last week or 2 weeks ago, he was coming to knock out the song, and like his two buddies were there. And I could feel the vibe where I'm like, oh, like they're kind of not liking the beat.
Yeah, you can definitely feel that shit in the studio.
As the song was being made, they got closer and closer to the, you know what I mean? And they're starting to like kind of vibe out. And I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes you got to kind of just let them feel it out first. And I don't know, trust the process.
Like if you don't like the tools that's there, you might not like the tools that's there, but as you start using them, you start seeing how to use them. And then you start finding something.
Exactly. Right. Start going down a whole journey type deal. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Artists, trust your producers. Trust your producers.
They're not just saying stuff.
Yeah. Right. We really the tastemakers of this shit. You know what I mean? It'd be like a actor not trusting the director. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta trust the vision. That's why producers are in the studio, is to help you, you know, bring this vision to reality. Yeah. Not just to make something you like. You know what I mean? Like, although that a lot of the time that's how it ends up being. How do you guys like approach, like, say you're in that instance, and you're like, you gotta trust me, and they're just like, at the end of the day, fuck nah, bro. Like, what are you doing in that instance?
Again, I think it's so situational, but really just putting my like best foot forward or like making sure that I'll find either that type of beat, or I'm just going down kind of like the rabbit hole that I would go down, and 9 times out of 10 we'll find something where they'll be like, okay, bet. Like, so I guess to answer it, like open the door, but you can quickly tell if somebody's like I'm sure you guys deal with this too. Like I'll throw out little bars and stuff, and I can quickly tell if they're like, no, I don't want to hear what you have to say. You know what I mean? And I'm like, let them kind of do it.
Yeah.
But you just everything's so situational and like so relationship based on how. And then you got those people like Faux Nick, who he came in, and I've worked with him for like probably a few years now, which is crazy to think about. And like would come in, we've gotten closer since then, but kind of standoffish at first. Come in, he would do 8 songs in 2 hours. All right, mix that down for me. Okay, sounds good. On to the next one. I'm like, I wasn't done. You know what I mean? And then he just drops it and it would go crazy, you know? But like, he's a person where I'm like, I know he's going to come in and kill it every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah. And I don't know. So it's so just based on the scenario, you know what I mean?
I feel you. It is definitely all relationship based because like I was saying, I got artists that my job is to just get the shit in the computer. Yeah. And then I got artists that they come in and they're like, what are we doing? You tell me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, for sure.
So it's all session to session.
Definitely. No, that's.
I was just gonna say something.
I was just gonna say too, like Zaytoven has the best. I think he was on Tank and them's. I forget the name of the podcast, but it's Tank's podcast, and he was saying like when Future would come, I'll make this quick, but when Future would come, he would take Future off the songs. He didn't like Future. Like he's literally saying this on the podcast, and as time went, Future would be like, tell me what I'm rapping on. You know what I mean? And like, I want to do this project and you just do all the beats. And even if I don't like it, I'll still do it. And it's like, they have some of the craziest albums, you know, I forget the names of them. They're so crazy, but like, but they, you know what I mean? They have a lot of dope shit. And that was a good instance of that.
And what was it you was just saying the other day about how like a lot of artists, their biggest songs, like they didn't fuck with it at first.
They didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like, it was Young Thug. You know, Havana from They said that the label had to tell his mom to get on the song. He was not finna get on that song, but his mom was like, yo.
And that was a smash hit.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
His mom was like, yo, this is a good opportunity. Like, hop on this song. Right. And he did it and look at it.
Yeah. Crazy.
I mean,
which goes to show, I mean, like artists, you know, they're their biggest critic and you know what I mean, stuff like that, but they're not always right either. You know what I mean? So, I mean, a lot of the time they're dictating terms on everything going in the studio. And a lot of times they're the person paying for the time, so it's their time.
Right.
But like, they're not always right.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Same with producers, though. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I was like, yo, I'm telling you. And then they're like, no, I'm telling you. Yeah. And then they ended up being right, and it was fire.
1,000%.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
A great point of like, not everybody's not right all the time. It's like that outside input a lot of times. Multiple brains is better than one. You know what I mean? So the freaking photographer could have a raw idea. You know what I mean? Or whoever, you know? So, but yeah.
It better be raw, though. If the photographer starts saying shit that's cooked, bro, take the pictures, bro. That'd be like me, like, hey, bro, get one of me like this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's funny.
Hey everyone, Code Red here. If you like the way this podcast looks and sounds, it's filmed on location at Code Red Productions. We handle all your audio needs for music, commercials, and podcasts. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Code Red Productions KC or visit our website, coderedproductionskc.com. We'll see you here. Back to the show.
I got a question. So this kind of like off of producing, kind of getting more into the mixing. 3 plugins that you feel like you would never be caught without, mixing wise.
Fab Filter, Pro Q3, CLA 2A, and I would say de-esser, but I use the Fab Filter Saturn, the saturator.
Word.
Yeah, I use that on basically
You
everything.
like that?
Yeah, I
I've never
do.
used it.
Really? I think so. When I had first started mixing, I was just YouTubing whatever. And I was victim of the CLA vocals, just using that for a long time, which it sounded dope. Honestly, there's a lot of times where I'm like, I need to go back to it.
I use it a lot.
Yeah, and I think it sounds great. And I know like Kenny Beats, I think why I would watch videos and they'd like make fun of each other for using it, but fuck it, it sounded great.
Yeah,
and,
it works.
And that kind of helped me get off of it. Like it still gave me that kind of saturated sound, but yeah, probably those three.
Right on.
Sure.
Have you tried Pro Q4?
No,
Yeah, we just got it like this week, so I'm super green with it, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I didn't even know that.
So
that
like Soothe,
yeah, yep.
they got like Soothe built into Pro Q
do they
now.
really?
Yeah,
yeah. I need to start doing Soothe with. I get so much latency on it that I'm like,
yeah. You can't like record with it by any means, but like once you're in your mixing and you put your buffer size all the way up, like definitely Soothe is all over my shit for sure.
For sure.
But that same with that Pro Q4. Once now that they got that same shit built in, hella latency, bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you can't use it like in recording.
Yeah,
So like you can put it into like spectral mode. That does that same kind of soothe thing, and that's what adds that latency.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it is a dope plugin, and I've definitely used it if I have, you know what I mean, the time afterwards where I actually get to work on it. But Soothe at least, and that's been like a dope thing because that harshness. I don't know if you guys experience this with the Neumann mics, but it depends on some artists. It sounds fantastic, but there's some where I'm like, I don't want to record and mix anymore because it's too harsh. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
The 87 has like that point at 4K or something that's just like really like present.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, if you got an artist that has like a darker voice, great.
Yeah.
But if you got somebody that's like really forward with it and S's are strong and like, the consonants are really strong,
right.
It can be pretty tough sometimes.
Yeah. How much do you see? I think I've heard you talk about this too, but like you can only do so much with a vocal take.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people will be like, hey, why does my stuff not sound like this person's stuff? And I'm like, they're great at delivering, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
The vocal.
You didn't perform it.
Yeah. And it's like,
record.
Right. And it's like, if you're really high and you're like kind of barely speaking into it, I'm so hard on myself all the time too, where I'm like, damn, like this doesn't sound how I want it to. But then I have to kind of realize like they maybe just weren't doing the best take as well. Like, do you?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, part of the time, it is like you need to hit it again, and you just ain't hitting it. You ain't hitting it like you need to hit it.
Right.
That the order of operations, and we talk about this all the time, for like a great song is like a great performance. Well, great song is first, and then a great performance is right after that.
Sure, right.
That's before any recording or mixing or anything like that. Like those two things, if they're not good, the rest of the shit ain't gonna go well.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You're gonna be fighting against the steps before.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're fighting an uphill battle if like the things that you start, your foundation isn't there. And that's a great song and a great performance first and foremost. But I feel like, especially like in the last couple of years too, like people have, like, think about the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody rapping in the 90s was like loud as fuck, bro.
Yeah, right.
And so like now in today's rap, we have like a whole new wave of people that are rapping like hella quiet and like they want to be so chill with it. They want to give that vibe of like, I really don't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, which is it was a cool vibe at times for sure. But like it can be a very challenging to record and mix that when the beat, especially if it's like depending on the type of beat, if it's a trap beat and you have this tiny vocal, it can be tough. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Well, even beats that people pick, you know what I mean? Like if all they have is you're able to download it from YouTube and it's already like super loud and stuff. I'm like,
bricked out.
Man, yeah. That's stuff that I got to remember because there's a lot of times where I'll get discouraged with that. I'm like, am I not doing something right? You know what I mean? And like I got my mentor, Mello, shout out to Audio by Mello. He's from LA and I found him through this guy, Doe Networks, and he works with Mello is like Jay Worthy. Mm-hmm. He's his like main recording engineer and he offers like mentorship and stuff too. So we haven't met in a while, but we were doing it weekly for a long time. And that was like the main reason why I was wanting to get with him was to find out, like being self-taught, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And I was like, damn, like maybe Wavy Wayne was leading me down the wrong wrong path, but yeah, so I don't know. I'll be hard on myself sometimes about stuff like that and trying to figure out how to get it right,
I think too, like if you're watching like Wavy Wayne or whoever on YouTube, or like we'll sit there and watch Mix with the Masters or whatever and watch dope ass engineers, it's like they did something awesome and it worked. But that's not going to work every time. Right. And we say that shit all the time. I'm like, well, you can try this, this, and this, but that's not going to work every time. Yeah. Nothing works every time.
Right.
Situational.
Yeah.
Absolutely. that seems like the common theme is situational. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, mixed with the masters is dope too. I need to repay for that membership.
I think like it used to be, I don't know, maybe I'm just like hater. It used to be doper. Now I feel like they're just getting into so many conversations that's like philosophical.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's not what I'm
they're
looking
just like, I hate on this shit all the time, bro, because they'll say some shit and they're just like, all I did was add, 0.2 dB boost at 2K. And I'm like, okay, so what you're telling me was that the shit was recorded fucking phenomenally.
Yeah.
And you didn't really do anything.
Right. I noticed that a lot from the people who talk on there. I'm like, they're like, it's really not that much. I just put one compressor on there and then that was kind of it. I'm like, damn, so I'm paying X, Y, and Z to, like I can do that. But
it's like, bro, I'm fucking sweating over here, dude.
yeah. Which goes back to show like a dope artist is a dope artist. Like I say this all the time. My favorite, and this is probably some hot take trying to be deep cut shit, but like my favorite Schoolboy Q song is an unmixed. You could tell it was on a Funkmaster Flex tape. I don't remember the name of it, but I think it's called Hit 'Em Up actually. And you can tell that they just like wanted Schoolboy on there because this was like right around the time like Mac was dropping movies with the sound off, and like Ab Soul and Action Bronson and Schoolboy, they're all like really getting big. And there's a song on there that you could tell they just didn't have the file anymore or something. And they were like, but it's still fire. Let's just drop it. Like Joey Fats did the beat and it's like unmixed as hell.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just like that because Schoolboy Q's dope. Everything he's saying is dope. It's interesting.
Yeah. That just goes to show that the song and the performance are the two most important things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the mix could be ass, but the song is still hard.
Right.
Like a good mix cannot save a bad song. That's just is what it is.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Do you guys battle with like loudness?
You know, I think in like the last year, I've really figured out like just how to be loud,
You have.
like out the gate.
Yeah.
So that I don't have to like battle it.
Right.
Like I'll just turn on my little presets and then shit's loud.
Yeah.
Now I might have to be like, okay, now it's fucking crunchy and distorted and whatever. Now I got to figure out how to fit it into my presets.
Yeah.
But like my mix bus preset is just loud. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I don't feel like, and I've also like stopped caring as much too. Like I'll check my loudness,
Yeah.
and if I'm hitting like -9 on a mix, which is still loud, but like it's not as loud as everybody wants, I'm still like, fuck it, I'm gonna send it and see what they say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they say I need it louder, then we'll address it. But if they say, yo, it's green, then we're green.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like I feel like the loudness thing is so like, there's no like standard. You know what I mean? Like everybody's saying different shit. All the streaming services are at different luffs. Like
Right.
so. I don't know. I don't really have an answer for like loudness. I just make sure my shit's loud and I send it. Like,
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the same thing I do. That was a thing that I battled a lot where I was playing it next to stuff and I'm like,
yeah.
oh, like the one thing that probably will mess up something for an artist is if, say, something does get on a playlist and it's playing through and then all of a sudden their song is like low and they got to, then the listener has to go turn up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of going to throw the vibe off if you're like at a pool on a boat or, you know what I mean?
I was listening to a New Music Friday playlist just a couple days ago and a new Cardi B song was on there and it was actually coming in pretty quiet on Spotify. So I was just like, it don't even matter. If Cardi B is like not even as loud as like Benson Boone or whoever the fuck came before or after that, it's like, why do I care?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Everything has a volume knob for a reason.
For sure.
I mean, you still want your shit to hit. You still want your shit to be loud when it comes on in the club or in the car or where on the playlist. Or you still want it to be loud and you still want it to hit. But like everything has a volume knob for a reason.
Yeah. And like I was listening, I had tried out Tidal for like a few days because they be saying it's got hi-fi and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was listening. They have where you can listen to it without like the volume optimization shit. I'm listening to one of these projects. It was a Childish Gambino album, his most recent. Like each song is like different, like completely different. Like one, like you said, to come in quiet and the next one loud as hell. So I'm like, it like you said, it don't really matter.
Yeah.
Because like the platform is already gonna
fuck with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like any platform out there is delivering your original vision to begin with. So it's like I make sure if I'm doing a project, I try to like optimize it so that all my tracks are in a similar range before we even send it off, because I don't want like that. I don't want it to be on streaming and then every track is fucking different. Like that shit bugs me just as like, you know, an engineer OCD type shit.
Yeah,
like, I want my vocal to be the exact same throughout the whole fucking project.
Sure, absolutely. You don't want it bouncing way all over the place.
I don't, like that's the thing to me. Like when I say, okay, we're working on a project, my vocal got to sound consistent throughout the whole project. I want it to sound like it's the same person with the same recording in the same place.
Right.
And you can put them in different like places, you know what I mean, with the effects and shit like that. We go into space on this one. We go into the alley with this one, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's like my vocal, I still want that level to be right here so that we're like, that artist is 3-4 feet from you the whole time you're listening to the project.
Right.
That's what I'm going for usually.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, I think similar thing too. And then like at the studio, a lot of the guys or women that I'll work with, they want it like, boom, it's done now and whatever. And I won't be able to do that. So I'm like, let me like, you know what I mean? Tell me before you drop it so I can go. Because at the end of the day, like it's my work or our work or whatever showing too. And sometimes it doesn't get to that point, and it's just like,
that's why when I'm in the studio, like in the session, and they're an artist that wants it now, and it's gonna go get dropped this weekend.
Yeah,
I make sure to export everything at -10 LUFS in the studio at the end of every session.
Oh yeah,
like I just put my limiter on there, and I turn up or down going into it to get to -10. And
interesting.
Yeah, so like I know every time that when they leave and they go play it in the car, it's going to be the same as the last time they were here, and it's going to be the same as the next time they come. Like,
right.
I that might be OCD to be worrying about the LUFs like in the recording session, but like I don't want to get hit later. Can you turn this up?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like they know what they're going to get with a rough mix or leaving the session or whatever from me.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
You had mentioned like you had cooked up the whole project for Kush Llama on a snow day and sent the beats. Do you normally send beats or do you like cooking up with the artist there?
So this is actually interesting. So I'll just go back to when I had started to make beats. I was really I would only do MIDI, and which I think was a blessing in at the end of the day, having that experience with like Omnisphere or like chords, because I'm not like classically trained, and you know what I mean? Like I can't play the keyboard or anything.
Same.
But I like would never want artists to be there when I was doing that, because it was so tedious,
right?
And I'm like, this is going to be awkward because they're sitting here. And at this point I wasn't running a studio. It was just all production and like friends pulling up or whatever, like Riley or whoever. And I hated doing it that way.
Yeah.
And, I would never have people pull up, but now that I've just kind of scrapped that and I just am like, I love samples. I'm just going to find obscure samples. I got a big database of them that I use. I prefer the artist to be there with me, because then I'm like looking at them and I'm kind of like faster, slower, you know what I mean? Like or I'm like in the sense like we talked about, I'll be like, hear me out on this. Like, just like, I promise it's not going to sound like that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the funny things is like, I'll play a sample and it's so slow. They're like, no, not that. I'm like, but once I speed it up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, just bear with me.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But to answer your question, this day and age, I prefer them to be there, because also it keeps me there doing it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm just on my own, I'm like, I'm kind of over it. I'm about to, you know what I mean?
Walk
like,
away for a little bit.
Right. I've heard 70,000 hi-hats today. Like I'm, trying to go do something else, but again, I need to get away from that too and kind of get back remotivated. But yeah, I prefer them to be there for sure.
What you prefer?
It depends on who it is.
That's a good point.
Majority of the time, I might get hate for this, but I don't like artists being in the room, because a lot of times they don't know what they're talking about when I'm making a beat. They be like, put up.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what is that?
Right.
I'm like, okay. But I prefer to be by myself because it allows me to just get the beat done. Like, I feel like sometimes when it's an artist in the studio, it'd be so much of me trying to bring what they're saying to the table, and it's just not clicking because they don't know how to translate it over to into the actual terms that it is.
Right. Yeah. That's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely got its pros and cons. That's why I wanted to ask how you felt about it, because like you said, like, or like both of you said pretty much, like you can build off their reaction right there. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of the times they'll they'll like shoot something down instantly, but you're like, just give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
I gotta work it first.
right.
Yeah.
Like, but also I feel like when they're in there, that limits the experimentation because of that reaction they're giving. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
you can't try as much shit as you normally will when you're cooking up on your own.
Yeah.
Like when I'm cooking up on my own, nobody's going to judge me. Nobody's here. So I'm just
Right.
going to try some weird shit that I normally wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And it might come out crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
like
a great point.
when they're in the room, I feel like that limits that experimentation because like their reaction to it isn't immediately like, I love it. You know what I mean? So it's like you're working more trying to get that reaction with them in the room, I mean.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like you guys have heard like some big artists like Zay or hit producers, I mean like Zaytoven or Hit Boy been like, my biggest beat I cooked up in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, probably because they didn't experiment at all. Like
Yeah.
the rapper might have been even in the room.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like does the experimenting being limited, is that a good thing sometimes? Like thinking less about it.
I think it can be sometimes. I feel like as creatives, we get so much in our head about the fact that we're creating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if they're there, you just facilitate. You know what I'm saying? Just if this what they like,
Sure.
rock with it and probably make a hit.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's why I end up liking it, is because I'm like, there's no chance for me to overthink it. You know what I mean? But again, with like the Kush scenario where I'm sending the stuff, that was probably the best thing for the project because it was like I said, it was like the biggest snow we've had in 100 years or something. I'm just sitting there messing with stuff. You know what I mean? And I had told him, I definitely still had like a deadline because even before I was doing it, I was like, I'm about to do them all today. Don't even worry about it, you know? So then
Yeah.
halfway through, I'm like, am I really going to get up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Might have to space this out a little bit, but that's probably why that one, this will be interesting to see what you guys think, but that one is a little more off the walls than the previous one.
Yeah.
You know, like this previous one was still kind of similar, but I had more of I think the one before was the Goonies concept, you know? So I was going for that kind of sound. Something that's interesting, I don't know if you guys have seen it. Are you guys familiar with Teddy Walton?
The singer?
He's a producer. He actually, fascinating guy, but he's like the sharpshooter of beats. Like he's from, and you'll like this too. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, he's like from Columbia, Missouri, and then originally Memphis or something. But he made like the Drake and Chris Brown song. He did Kendrick's Love. He's done like a bunch of really big songs, but he doesn't put out that many beats. Mm-hmm. And he kind of does like the project bass too. That's probably an influence of mine. But he says he has one of those.
I've
like,
seen him before.
Yeah.
yeah. He has one of those deconstructed. I forget who puts it on, but where they deconstruct
Genius?
it. Yeah, Genius.
Yep.
Yeah, he has one of those, and some people might say this sounds lazy or something, but he's like, I don't do like the 10 beats a day or so many beats a day. He only does it like as he's feeling it. And I'm like, damn, that kind of translates into maybe why he's such a, whatever he puts out ends up having to be,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure he has his misses or whatever, but like he has so many big songs in like 1 year. And to hear him in that Genius thing where he's talking about, he's like, I'll wake up, smoke, pray, and watch a movie, and then get inspired and make a beat. You know what I mean? And it's like, I was like, damn. And then those are always so funny to me too, because they like are super relatable. I think for like people like us, where they're deconstructing it, and as like the drums are going, it's almost like awkward. It's like there's just a little like boop, and it's such a big part of the song, you know.
Yeah.
But and then the whole time you can tell he's feeling awkward. He's like, see, I'm telling you, it's real simple. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then the artist comes in and does something amazing like Kendrick, you know?
Yeah.
But you guys will have to deep dive on him. He's got some really fascinating stories, and then his connection to, so another funny deal with him on Riley P&P's song Chasing Chicken. He like adds, you'll hear in the song where a kick comes in real hard and like the beat really picks up. That he's not like on there, and like his name's not on it, but that's actually him that did the beat on that.
It's tight.
Yeah,
That's hard.
That's all
Riley has a lot of crazy like
fire.
industry connections. Like,
Yeah.
it's insane. Cardo loves Riley, like one of the biggest producers of all time. But Yeah.
That's because Riley's hard as fuck,
Oh,
bro.
dude, undeniable, crazy crazy flow, voice, his real authentic voice. Like, he's a goat for sure.
Speaking of coke rap, though,
Yeah,
that new Clip song. Have you heard that new "So Be It" that they dropped like 2 days ago? It's insane sample flip by Pharrell. It's been like all over TraKCouts. You know the pages on IG that like do the beat breakdowns and shit.
Yeah,
a lot of people have been breaking it down. The sample flip was insane.
really.
Yeah.
So Pharrell did the beat.
Yeah.
On it then
Yeah.
Interesting. I need to listen. I think I saw something about it, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So what other producers like do you draw inspiration from besides like Alchemist and them?
Harry Fraud, big time. Cardo. Who else? V Don, who does a lot of. He has a Boldy James project. Nick Craven. Man, I'm trying to think of like some of like the more trap people. Chase the Money is like one of my all-time favorites. Trying to think who else. Filthy, who does like Lucky and I'm Working on Dying, those guys. But yeah, I'm really in like that. Oh, DJ Fresh. DJ Fresh is probably the biggest one, honestly. Like he's like probably my favorite producer of all time. And that dude, I've like, since I've found out about it, I mean, he's been doing stuff, the Tonight Shows for a long time, way longer than when I got tuned in to him. But like, since I was following his lives and watching him and stuff, he like, even as an older guy, not super old, maybe around 40 or so, like picked up keys really well. And like now he plays it almost just fluently. But before then he was doing it like how, you know what I mean? How a lot of us do. But yeah, his inspiration, anybody for real that has a distinct sound.
Yeah, I feel you.
Like that's, again, that goes back to like the restaurant thing or like I'm going to this person. Oh, they're doing like, there's nothing I love more than like, concept albums or like this artist is working with this one producer and it'll like irk me if there's another producer on it. You know what I mean? And that's just, I mean, I'm not trying to talk shit, but it's like, that's kind of one of my like, just as a fan, I like whenever it's all one body of work. But yeah, that probably answered those. Those are the ones that come to mind.
For sure. It sounds like like you said, it's all about like having your own sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're bringing something that can't be replicated, to the table. But yeah.
Y'all feel like production is watered down like these days with like how many producers are like out here?
I think, yeah, definitely like a level of saturation for sure. Like, because so many people can do it. But as long as there's, that's kind of why I stopped sending beats too.
Yeah.
Like I went through the phase of being like, what's Drake's friend's email? You know what I mean? Like maybe not that, but like something,
I feel
like
you, bro. I feel you.
I'm gonna find
I feel you.
somebody, their uncle on Instagram, like trying to be like real crazy about it, not that crazy, but yeah, finding managers and whatever and trying to send them stuff. But like so many times it was just like nothing came of it.
I feel you.
It rarely anything would ever come of it. Everything any bigger placements I've had have all been like relationship based of people like that I met in real life.
Yeah, that's tough.
But yeah, I think, I don't know. It probably is. There's so many people sending beats. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I was getting at though. Like, it's like you almost, and then a lot of artists, it's like damn near they should charge you to rap on their beat, or to rap on your beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like they already have their friend. You know what I mean? They have their Scorpio. They have their Code Red that they're very loyal to. Like I've even hit up certain artists like somewhat recently, and they'd be like, I'm not accepting like new producers right now because they already have. You know what I mean?
Team or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that they'd rather build with, and which is, you know what I mean? I respect that. So I've just gotten to the point where I'm just only interested in working with people that I for real know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's where I'm at too, to be honest.
Yeah. And you guys work with so many dope people. It's like, how much more gratifying would it be, or will it be, to just watch that journey grow? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're the guys,
That's really the whole point of this shit is like nothing would make me happier than to see the artist that I'm working with like blow up.
Oh,
Like,
1,000%. Yeah.
Like I really don't have like any kind of like goal or dream to like get a placement with a major artist. I really don't.
Yeah, right.
Like if Kendrick called and was like, send the beat, I'm sending the beat.
Of course, every time.
Yeah, but like that's not like my goal. You know, what I mean?
Yeah,
People are
not
always
like
like,
longing for
who's your
that.
dream artist? And I'm not. I'm like, the people I'm working with, I want them to blow. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't. A Kendrick collab, I can't bring anything to Kendrick that's gonna make him better.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he has the people around him that maximize his talent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then two, even from like the other standpoint, those artists that like got really big, like Kendrick was always on Soundwave or whoever it is he was working with at the time. They had their same sort of thing, you know what I mean?
And they're still locked in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe that's also just another like ode to that's how people blow is like sticking with the same. You know what I mean? Like if it's working, of course, like there's nothing wrong with experimenting or whatever, but it's like I don't know, kind of building that sound like ASAP Rocky, Clams Casino, Wiz Cardo, Drake 40, Gucci Mane, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking Zaytoven and Southside and 808 Mafia and all those Lex Luger. But yeah, I think that's probably what ends up making the best.
Yeah, like you're saying, like the artists are in the same breath with their producers. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
they go hand in hand.
Right. Yeah.
So as far as your studio goes, TackleBox, how'd you get that name? Because I did pull up, there was fish and shit all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, talk about TackleBox, what that means, and talk about the studio a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So originally, when I got out of, I've like always been interested in music and especially rap music since high school. And I like went to school at Full Sail and studied entertainment business and management. I should have done engineering, but at the time I thought that was the thing to do. And I ended up, just long story short, I worked at Strange doing marketing for like 2 years and kind of got to see like what I wanted out of music and like what kept me going. And at first I was like, I want to be an A&R, you know what I mean? And like started to see A&R actually looks like somebody who had been a producer, engineer, you know what I mean? Did everything. They didn't just kind of like, of course there's those people that just like know everybody, you know what I mean? And like have a really dope ear and they're successful with it that way. But I was like, the farther I got, the more I realized I wanted to do stuff more hands-on.
Yeah.
So then that's how I did producing. And then producing, I went to, I promise this is all going to make sense, but I went to LA and I saw the producers out there were also engineers. And when I got back, I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm about to go buy a MacBook and I'm going to switch from my PC where I was making beats to this. And I'm just going to start trying to engineer it too. At first it was terrible, whatever. And around that time I had, I mentioned the Strange stuff while I was there, we were pulling from blogs all the time, like in like different stories and whatever. And this thing called Independent Grind where we would post like new artists and stuff. So we were on like Daily Chiefers and different things. So naturally I was like, I want to start a blog too. And I've always liked like the fishing thing. So I was like, I'm going to call it TackleBox because it's like, it has all these things in it, you know what I mean, that you can go to and find and whatever. I was like, that just seems like a cool name. Mm-hmm. And then eventually I switched the K and the C. And then I talked to my dad and I had the logo all like printed out and it was all like the full spelling. And he was like, no, just abbreviate it and do like the acronyms or whatever. So then that came along and then I had that sign made. And over time, dude, it was just like the studio shit kind of just, it was like COVID. I was working from home doing a marketing job and didn't like working from home. Like what I wanted to feel like I was fulfilling, you know what I mean? Something. Yes. And it was like, I was like, dude, I'm just like posting for this like car wash, Facebook posts, you know what I mean? Like I was like, I wasn't really feeling it. So then I just converted my basement. This was the old studio. Where my bedroom was, put that upstairs and made that the studio and just started posting. I was like, when it was open. And then from there on, it's just been kind of building as you go. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those things that like, I didn't really have like an intent ever to run a studio, but shit just happened and I was like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, let's just try it, you know, and it ended up working out cool. One of the big things was like somebody came, and I think it was Kai, and I admire Kai. Like, I love Kai Colors to death, and like one of the dopest people in general and artists. And he was like, he was like, how much are you charging? And I was like, damn, if you're asking me how much I'm charging, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I must have something, you know? So then from there on, just kind of built it. I started it and kind of learned as I was going, but now here we are. Still a ton of learning to go. And I don't know what I want it to be like, you know what I mean? If I want to continue to try and like scale it or whatever, I'm like kind of in a place where I'm comfortable right now, just with my day to day. I feel like a barber almost, you know what I mean? I say that. Yeah, I say that all the time. I'm like, I know what they want, and they come back and we try different things, and sometimes they want something different and whatever. And so that's kind of where it's at. But yeah, the name and stuff all just came from, oh no, I'm not even a fisherman for real.
I was gonna ask you, like, how much are you into the outdoors with all the like the themes of some of your work? You know what I mean? The tackle box, birds fly, fish talk, Carhartt coveralls.
I'm into it until I have to get out in it.
You're into the idea of it.
Yeah, I think I like the pictures and the movies. You know what I mean?
I
like
feel it.
All that. Like I just got this tatted. I got a vintage diver down here. I'll show you after. But
Yeah. I
got like the boats and all kinds of shit. People are always like, "You want to go fishing?" I'm like, maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not really even that into it, but no, like I'm sure you guys are a similar way. Like a lot of people I know around here, we've always done our share of family lake trips and stuff.
for
I'm
sure.
sure that kind of, I don't know, in video games.
It's
like,
never a bad time at the lake.
exactly.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's just kind of the shit that draws me in and I draw inspiration from. But the cool thing about it, I think, in more of like a actual term, and I got this from my buddy Jace, who I worked with at the marketing company. Actually, he was like helping me with the art and stuff. He did like the logo, and then I had this dude Nico Lynn Customs, really dope artist, draw the fish, and he was like, it's like a tackle box, like it's a like they come to the if you're fishing, like you're fishing for ears, and you go to the tackle box to get stuff
hard.
you need, you know what I mean?
That's
Like
fire.
so, and he gave me that idea. I didn't even, you know, and
Yeah.
so I'll kind of bring that into play sometimes too. But just a fun thing at the end of the day.
I mean, one of the dopest things about it is like the branding. You guys, like the tackle box logo, we all know it now. You got the hats. You guys do shirts? I don't remember, but like,
yeah.
it's like
I
the
appreciate
branding
it.
has like been crazy just for like a studio that's just at your crib. You know what I'm saying? It's fire.
No, thank you,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's so like, is this a Bass Pro or is it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's just kind of, I don't know. It's random, but it works at the same time.
Yeah.
So no, I appreciate it. And like, dude, I got to give like the biggest shout out to Wax. I think the reason why we even see the hats for real is like Wax would wear them all the time, Wax Gotti. And then he would like give all his friends them. You know what I mean?
Because you like pull up to a show and see somebody with a tackle box.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I need to go to more shows. That's crazy to think. But like my biggest thing is just making a cool looking hat. And I have like my fair share of like clothes. Like I worked for Carhartt for a long time. That's like Carhartt coveralls.
Yeah.
And like I met my best friend Adam at Carhartt. So like, I don't know. That's been that like the clothing has always kind of been like an inspiration too, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like kind of got to see the way that it works through working there and different stuff. And I don't know. I need to make some more hats. I'll bring some through next time.
Hell
too.
yeah. I need one. Last thing I want to touch on before we get out of here.
Sure.
So last week we were talking to MKV about AI. Timbaland had announced that he had created his AI music company with the AI artist.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even 1 week before they got caught up in copyright infringement
That's wicked.
for copying a
Yeah.
producer. So I just want to know, are you currently using AI at all? If so, how are you using it with your music?
So, and I kind of regret doing this. I put like maybe a couple artists onto like the Chat GPT, like getting a cover done that way. And dude, like, I think it just, I mean, maybe at the end of the day, like, cause I know a lot of people, the conversation is like, you may as well adapt before it. But like for that, it just, I don't think it'll ever be good for like creativity. You know, just my personal experience. Like maybe there's some stuff like in videos. I've seen cool videos where they'll use AI to like turn my face into the Joker or something. You know what I mean? Which is kind of cool. But if I'm using it in music, it would be in a plugin, and I don't know that it's, you know what I mean? Like, so maybe I am, and I'm eating my words, but like, I don't see it being like a thing that I would personally use, unless if it's like for limiting harshness, you know, like something that just makes it like easy and you wouldn't notice it. But bro, like the shit feels weird to me. Like somebody sent me it was actually my sister, but she sent me a picture of like, it was like our grandpa that passed and like one of us as a kid, and the picture was moving. I'm like, that's not even supposed to be. That's like not, that didn't happen.
That's some Frankenstein.
I mean? Yeah, like exactly. Like something about watching it just makes me feel weird. Even though it's like videos of people cutting into fruit and shit. It's I'm like cringy. I'm like, something about this is bizarre to me. But so I'm not super into it. And then I saw Alchemist and them like they were getting cooked on Twitter too. I don't think they actually used an AI cover, I think they said, but he was kind of saying, you know what I mean, how it's not, again, to each their own. And in 10 years, we might think this conversation was crazy anyways, because it's such a thing, you know? But unless, like, probably only for little accents.
So, like, the last two cover arts for Kush Llama, the Big Mouth Bass and the Trap House, those were AI covers, like, right?
I don't know. He got them done.
Okay.
So I don't think so, but I think he actually, I know he is a creative, so he actually makes it. I think he does it in Photoshop.
Okay.
But I'm not sure about, because we had even talked about doing it that way, and I sent him some, because this was around the time that I was like, oh, maybe this is like something to explore, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, to my knowledge, they aren't, for real.
Well, based on our combos, you know, with MKV and maybe a little bit with Spence too, it doesn't seem like in the visual world to be as much like as a stir about it. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe that goes to what you were saying last week with MKV was, you know, when we're like, the music is the actual idea. The visual is to support that idea.
Yeah.
Sure. So maybe you can get away with a little bit visually more.
For sure.
Because MKV be using the hell out of it. You know what I mean? And when we talked to him last week about it, he was like, I don't have a problem with it. Yeah. Basically.
Right. That's a good way to put it too, because it's not actually like affecting the music. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you one that one I'm talking about.
But I mean, like, we also have the samples being made now by AI. Which one's that? The
like
4
that's AI. Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of hard though.
Cool.
Yeah. You see, so it's like, I necessarily don't feel as much pushback on it, like personally with like cover art or like, visuals, like videos.
For sure.
I feel like if you were just going into like a chat GPT and just typing in, give me a cover art with this, this, and this, and this, it's a little lazy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I want to see some effort, like some thought put into like that looked tough. Don't get me wrong. That looked tough.
Yeah.
But like I want like you were saying, like how you dig concept albums.
Yeah.
I want like a concept behind it, a theme, you know what I'm saying?
1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing I do know. Like with like the Kush projects, it was, the covers are super thought out. Yeah. Like that, the one before where it's like on a boat.
It's like a building.
Yeah, it's like a building on the water.
Bro. Well, that's what I was going to ask. If those were AI, I like them both.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I don't know. I think I want to say he actually did them in Photoshop, but yeah, he may have, who knows? But regardless, they definitely were thought out and dope. And like, the whole like elephant theme is like kind of his thing too. So he always like has himself, you know what I mean, depicted as like the elephant, and like, yeah, it's dope. But no, I appreciate it. I'm glad you fucked with those for sure. But yeah, that's the big thing too. Like you said, is like, as long as it depicts the music, you know what I mean? Like however you achieve that, like, cause I have seen some that are raw, you know, and it could be AI or whatever, but there's always something about it that you can tell. Right. You know? Like it's like, they definitely had it done on ChatGPT or whatever. Yeah. But yeah. Interesting.
But as far as like the Timbaland's AI music already getting hit with a copyright infringement, like it's like everybody saw this coming and it only took a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. like, I don't know if I'll ever listen to like an AI artist.
Never.
You know what I mean?
I will never, bro.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like even like last year when it was first like taking off and it was like, check it out, you can hear Biggie rap a milli. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
stupid shit
it
like
felt
that.
weird.
I'm like, this, I do not like this.
Yeah.
This is dumb, dude.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
super bizarre.
I don't have any desire to listen to Timbo's AI artist or his AI artist rap on somebody's beat that he stole. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Because like half of it too is like, I think we like artists with cool stories too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like, or whatever. They could not have crazy stories at all, but it's like they're still authentic people that you can like relate to and whatever. Don't get me wrong, that shit is spot on in some of like the songs. I had explored something, I forget the name of it. It's an app where it was like you could describe what you want and it'll make the song. And I was trying to get samples and I was like wanting it to just make samples that I could just use because I pull stuff and obviously I'm like weary of like copyright or whatever. I try and tweak it enough to the point where it's like different, you know what I mean? And not just straight up using like the person's original production or whatever. So I tried to mess with it and it was ass.
Yeah, really?
It was like they were like making terrible.
yeah, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard good stuff and I've heard shitty stuff from the apps, you know?
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a lot of producers out here doing what you're saying you were trying to do and make their own samples on it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, make me a 70s record saying this.
Yeah.
And then they'll sample that.
Right,
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I necessarily feel about that. Like, I feel like that's a creative tool, but like, is it cheating? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, and plus, there's no rules. So what the fuck is cheating anyway?
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I'm saying? So
right. I mean, some people argue sampling in general is cheating.
right,
You know what I
definitely,
mean? Like,
definitely when they started doing it,
Yeah.
like 40 years ago.
my thing with that too, like, do you ever hear like Michael McDonald is like a big anti-sample guy?
Yeah, and they literally did regulators off his shit. Yeah.
And it's like damn near the same. So, but my thing was like, people were like calling him an asshole, and like I love the Doobie Brothers, and I love Michael McDonald, but like I'm like, I mean, it was his shit. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like what do you expect him to like? Not everybody's going to go for it, so that's kind of just what you gotta understand. And if that's not what they want, then you know what I mean. It's their thing. You're flipping at the end of the day, and like whatever the legal shit behind it says. But and then like Kanye had to write Steely Dan a long letter about using the Champion in Your Eyes,
Yeah.
whatever that song is.
Yeah.
It's like really big, but and then now it's like I'm sure they're probably thinking this is cool because they're getting a crazy royalty off of it, and
Yeah.
somebody flipped it and makes it their own, you know. But yeah, so it's like you said, like it's like there's no rules in this shit. You know what I mean? As long as you're doing something dope, then it's like I don't know, everything goes.
I mean, and then too, like you'll hear like the original artist will take like all the publishing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
was it Sting? Was
Juice WRLD.
Lucid Dreams.
Yeah,
and Diddy when he did I'll Be Missing You.
Oh yeah.
He took all that shit, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, but you like you said, it's my shit.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I ain't gonna say which songs. Not that it matters, but I got hella samples that ain't never getting cleared, and maybe will never be cleared. But it's like if they come one day, and they were like, "Yo, what's up?"
Yeah.
That means it at least took off. I'm thinking,
Absolutely.
right? So
Got
like,
your
yeah.
attention.
So
Yeah.
Me.
like it was worth it. You
Right.
can have it, bro.
Yeah, that's the thing that everybody says too, and that's literally like my concept of it. So I was one of the dudes who came out here, and the artist had a show. He's the manager, and like pretty far along in the shit, and he was at the studio, and before he was it was like the day before his flight, whatever, and we're down there like playing in beats and stuff and whatever, and I was like, and the artists he works with are like only samples. Like they only rap over, it's just a loop. They don't tweak the beat. You know what I mean? You probably know who I'm talking about now. And it's like a West Coast artist. And I was like, how do you go about getting it cleared? And he like laughed at me. Like he was like, cleared? Like we don't clear shit.
Yeah.
He was like, if this gets taken down, then that's a good thing. You know what I mean? And this artist is like really pretty big, you know? So, but hopefully it's like, I feel like best case scenario is, I don't know, this might not be how it works. This might sound stupid, but like they would just want a production type, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Royalty,
Yeah.
like, or even take
Like their
majority.
money.
Yeah.
Just, and then keep it up. And
I mean,
'cause obviously
yeah,
dope.
smart artists, I feel like, you know, I'm not like in the big business, but like I feel like smart artists would be like, okay, such and such sampled my song. I'm just going to get X amount percentage. I'm clearing that.
yeah,
Dude. Like,
exactly. Right.
and I mean, it's a way to generate revenue on a song that you made 40 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
It's gonna give it like another surge,
Right.
'cause your royalties and probably died down a little bit since it initially released, but now it's got another spark. And that's
but there are
really
these like
push.
purists out there that don't want you to touch their fucking art. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
you know, whoever, I can't think of anybody now, but it's like there are artists that are like absolutely under no circumstances. I don't give a fuck about no royalties. Do not sample my shit.
That's like how Mike McDonald was. He like
Yeah.
went on a whole press run about anti-sampling, but now shit in rap or techno or EDM or metal or whatever, sampling is such a thing that, you know, there's a lot of artists that are like, Von off 1700, please sample. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Please do my beat,
Yeah.
because then it's just, you know what I mean? Either I'm going to get money from that, or like you said, my song is going to go crazy now, or whatever. But yeah, or I even think about it. It's like funny how, like, what if it's like a small, like how we sample these obscure ass bands, and they're like, damn, like,
somebody hears.
you're right, right?
Yeah.
You know, like 30 years later, they get the opportunity for a crazy royalty. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Save your bread for that day, man. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
right.
coming for it.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
All right, let's get out of here.
Appreciate
At
you
Co-Red
guys.
KC, at We Got One Scorp, at Stone's Neighbor.
Yep, yep.
Greg, thank you, bro, for sliding. That was a fun
No,
conversation.
thank you guys. Yeah, I had a blast. I really appreciate it. Dope setup too.
Appreciate it.
yeah.
TraKCouts bouncing out, y'all. Peace.
Peace.